Hello, FPL managers. Welcome to a new episode of the FPL Optimized podcast. This is episode number 92. We are recording a bit earlier than usual as we're recording now on Tuesday evening, so there will be more time to listen to the content this week. We hope you'll appreciate it. I am Bas, the casual manager, and my co host is Sertalp, the data scientist. This is the podcast in which we combine analytics with the good old eye test. Data or grass, or data and grass? That's the question. The main topic for today will be the bench boost options for Gameweek 37, as probably quite many managers still have that chip left. So we'll look at the recommendations based on the data. But before we do that, let's do a quick review of Game Week 36. And Sertalp, I've been waiting for this all week long. Tell us how it was possible that you missed the FPL deadline on Friday night. What happened there?
Well, first of all, it was Friday noon time for me. It was actually
Oh,
lunchtime, so it
of course. That
is a
maybe
weird
explains
time.
it.
Kind of. Um, I don't know actually. So I think the main problem was that I didn't have any transfer to do. So I was going to roll my transfer. I had a
Mm,
quite well set up team. So yeah, I somehow missed it. I was on lunch, to be honest, and then I missed it. I
uh,
didn't even realize that was the case. And then when I realized it, it was too late already,
of course.
obviously. And I realized it actually after the game is updated, so that I saw the
Yeah,
bench.
when you could
Um,
see it. Okay.
yeah, I
Yeah,
mean,
that was a shocker. I think for
yeah,
many people who follow you as well, that was shocking. But in the
yeah.
end,
You also
we're
warned
looking at
it.
the scores now. It could have been worse. Well, it could have been better, but it could also have been worse.
It was quite bad actually. So I
Yeah.
started game week around 5,000, I think 5,000, and then when Haaland scored his first goal, I dropped to 12k, and then 17k, and then at the end of the game I was 32,000 in
Oh, wow.
OR,
Okay.
and then
Yeah.
from there I went to 17k before the Manchester United game, and then when we learned the Fernandez is out, I got the Haaland from Autosub, and then
Yeah. Yeah.
came back to 7k. So it wasn't that big disaster as much as we thought, but I lost
Yeah.
around 15 points I think because of this.
Yeah.
It's okay. I mean, I think I was gonna win head-to-head competition with 1 point this week, but well,
Oh,
you obviously deserved it, so it is
I was just
18 to
thinking
17
about
to
it.
your
What
favor.
would have happened if you didn't miss the deadline? So
Yeah, it
you
was
would have
going to be
won by 1 point. Yeah.
yeah,
Feel a bit bad about beating you because of this reason, but
part
it's
of the
part of
game,
the
man.
game.
Part of
It's
the
part of
game. I
the game.
agree.
You shouldn't forget about deadlines. So,
Exactly.
I take the
It's on
win
me.
and I'm leading. Yes, eighteen
Yep.
seventeen with just 2 game weeks to go. So
Yeah, yeah.
let's see. Let's see. Interesting. No, but yeah, for me, 107, good score, of course, above 100. But yeah, there were many teams who had quite a good score. Basically, everyone who captained Haaland, which was most of the game, because he already contributed 42 points, as we can see here in this chart. But next to that, Nico Jackson, really nice. He's finally scoring the goals, so that's good. 16 points. And then for me, basically everyone delivered almost except for Ederson and Byrne. That was a bit of shame. The Newcastle, losing the clean sheet quite late in the game. But yeah, that's what we know. Can be the risk with the clean sheets. You can lose it quite easily,
Mm-hmm.
and that happened there. But overall, yeah, 107, green arrow, and beating you, Sir Top. So yeah, I was quite happy.
Priceless.
Priceless, yes. All right,
Well
cool.
deserved.
So yeah, let's look ahead as we usually do. And yeah, we can still look at the fixture ticker, even though there's still only 2 game weeks left. But nonetheless, let's take a look.
Yeah, maybe we can cover only the teams that are doubling. I mean, that will be the main focus this game week anyway. So, Manchester City, obviously, they have a great game week. Fulham and Tottenham games. 8.2 is their offense point average, and 6.3 is their defense point average per 90 minutes. So, pretty good. And then we have Tottenham in the second rank. They have Burnley and Manchester City. So one, relatively good game and one bad game.
Yeah.
But still, offensive point average is 7.3, and then defense point average is 5.1. So they will be obviously a target for many people. And then we have Chelsea playing against Nottingham Forest and Brighton.
Hmm.
Defensively, it's good. It's 5.2, but offensively, it's 6.5 behind some of the other teams that are doubling, including City, Tottenham, and also Newcastle. Um, so Newcastle is then the next best team in terms of among the teams that are doubling. They have a Brighton game and a Manchester United game. Their offense point average is 6.9, and however defensively it's 4.8, pretty low. It is surprising because like Newcastle defense average is 4.8. Even though like there are some teams like Arsenal who are playing against Manchester United, their defense point average is 4.1. So it's very close despite having on a single game. So Liverpool is playing against Aston Villa. They are the fifth in the chart actually. So when you sort by fixture difficulty for remaining game weeks, both 37 and 38. But they are mainly at fifth rank because of their fixture against Wolves in game week 38, not this week.
Right.
Following the doubling teams, we have Brighton playing against Newcastle and Chelsea. Their defense point average is 4.1, offensively it is 6.1. And then Manchester United playing against Arsenal and Newcastle. Their defense point average is 4.0, and offense point average is 6.3. So not that good, but still, you can find maybe the good player in Manchester United and get lucky with it. Well, obviously,
Mm.
also this depends on whether Fernandez is going to play or not, and which we don't know at
Yeah.
this point. So yeah, these points might change. Obviously, any
Yeah.
comments?
No, nothing special. I'm just looking
Mm-hmm.
forward to the Tottenham Manchester City game. I think it will be
Mm-hmm.
an interesting one, potentially deciding the championship, I would say, because if we
Mm-hmm.
look at the games left for City, that's the trickiest one, I would say. Spurs away, even though Spurs is not really in good form, but still. Yeah, you never know because I was also listening to another podcast because Spurs and Arsenal are big rivals, of course. So if
Mm-hmm.
Spurs beat City, they kind of help Arsenal winning the
Yeah.
title. So many Spurs fans won't be happy with that. But I think from a team perspective, I think I suppose they will try to beat City. I think we should count on that.
Yeah.
So yeah, I'm
Yeah.
looking forward
We will
to
see.
watching that one on television. I think that will be interesting.
I mean, I'm sure they will try to win the game. I kind of understand where the people are coming from. I mean, there's also a big rivalry between Galatasaray and Fenerbahce in the Turkish league.
All
And
right.
like I was thinking about in those terms, like if Galatasaray loses and it helps Fenerbahce to get the title, like will they do it? I think they will try to win the game, but like Manchester City is obviously the better side in that game, and then it will be difficult even if they want to win the game. So I
Yeah.
feel like it's not in their hands, but we will see. I mean, it will be interesting if they win,
Yeah,
and then their
definitely.
fans are upset. Yeah,
Yeah,
that will be
I don't
interesting.
know. On the other hand, I mean, Spurs had a really good season. They just, the last few games they've not been performing. But so I think they still want to end it well, right? I think they want to end
Certainly,
it with a good
certainly.
feeling. But yeah, we can debate about it
Yeah.
all we want. We'll see what
Yeah.
happens.
Yeah.
But I'm sure, yeah, it will be an interesting game. And
Hmm. Hmm.
for the rest, yeah, from an FPL point of view, I think the top three teams, City, Spurs, Chelsea here, I think, yeah, most of us are tripled up on those, especially the people who recently wildcarded. So I think it's more looking at the other teams to fill up the remaining spots, and
Yeah.
of course
Hmm.
Arsenal is a big one there because they're also in the title race and they've been doing really well. Um, and then also of course Newcastle with two interesting fixtures in the double game week. Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah,
So yeah,
cool.
And then from here, only one thing I forgot to mention is Everton. Actually,
Yeah,
they don't have a double, but their defense point average is 4.5 against Sheffield United. And now that Maguire is out, excuse me, so many people are looking for a defender to
yeah,
replace him. And well, most people have double or triple players from other teams, like the teams that are already doubling.
yeah,
And there are not too many good options. That's why Everton defenders comes up if you run the solver, and because they have a good game. The strange thing is Everton have a terrible fixture in game week 38. They play against Arsenal, so
right.
whoever you are buying, you're going to bench them in last game week.
Yeah,
And if you have another, I don't know, like injury or rotation, then it will be a tough position to be in. But
yeah,
Solver is recommending it, so why not?
yeah. No, I'm thinking about it as well because I also have Maguire in my team, so that's definitely the player I need to sell. Uh, yeah, and then what are the options? I could get another Arsenal defender, which we know it's the best defense in the league.
Mm-hmm.
It shows that they play United away. I mean, it's not a bad game, but yeah, you never know at Old Trafford, especially if Bruno is back. Um, yeah, the other option could be Liverpool for me, but that's also not great. Villa away. Brighton has a double game week, but it's Newcastle and Chelsea, and Brighton is not really in best form, even though they had the last game week they did pretty well. So maybe Brighton could be an option, I think, with Dunk, for example.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Or otherwise, indeed, it's a single game week with Everton at home against Sheffield. I think Everton at home they're strong. Defensively, yeah, I think we could rely on them. So
Yeah.
I'm definitely, I am considering it definitely. Yeah,
Yeah. I mean, if you're going to play them both game weeks, then Arsenal defender makes
yeah,
sense. I mean, for you, we will also see the Solver output for your team in
yeah,
a second, but
yeah,
because they play against Everton in last game week, I mean,
yeah,
that's a good fixture anyway.
yeah. That's true. Okay, it's a good point. Let's move to the optimal teams then. What did you prepare for today?
So most people are bench boosting, obviously, so that's the focus. So I decided to optimize for a single week, only for 37, and see what's the best team you can have right now. And, then you can see how far you are from this team. I use my own team value for this, so obviously some of these things might differ for your own team. In goal, we have Onana and Petrovic. Well, both of them are doubling, and then their EVs are 6.32 and 6.3, pretty good. And in defense, we have Kukureya, Tarkovsky, Byrne, Pedro Porro, and Guardiol. Only Tarkovsky is not doubling among these defenders, but his EV
Mhm.
is not too bad. It's 4.2. In midfield, we have De Bruyne, Palmer, Gordon, Richarlison, Son. Again, all of them are doubling. And finally, in the forward, we have Joe Pedro, Haaland, and Isaac. And
Mm.
again, all of them are doubling with Haaland captain and Son is vice captain. And this is the optimal team using FPL reviews projections. And this team gives an EV of 138.39. So when I first ran it, it was strange to see a single game player, Tarkovsky, in this team, but I think it makes sense. There are not too many good options, and then,
Mhm.
well, yeah, if you are trying to maximize your EV, especially with also the team value in mind, so this is the team the solver comes up with. Any comments
Yeah.
on this, Bas?
No, not too much. It looks really strong.
Mm-hmm.
I'm happy to have some of the players, but
Mm-hmm.
yeah, goalkeepers for me is different. I have Vicario and Ederson, so especially with Vicario, I'm quite worried because Spurs have been so poor defensively. But yeah, but they do have the home game against Burnley, so I'm hoping that that could be maybe a good one for Vicario to keep a
Mm-hmm.
clean sheet. Fingers crossed. Yeah, and the Spurs double here in this team in the midfield with Richarlison and Son. That's a nice one, especially again for that Burnley home fixture. I think that could be interesting. So
Mm-hmm.
no, team
Yeah.
team looks pretty strong,
Mm-hmm.
definitely.
And I also tried the same thing with Mikkel Tokmam's model just to see if there are any differences. There are some differences. So in the goal we have Onana and Petrovic. That's the same. And
Yeah.
in defense we have Walker, Byrne, Pedro Porro, Romero, and Guardiol. So we have Walker and Romero here. In midfield we have Gross, Palmer, Garnacho, Gordon, Son. And in forward we have Nico Jackson, Holland, and Isaac. So there are a few differences, and then Garnacho is one of the most like interesting ones, I will say, and also obviously Gross. And
Yeah,
yeah,
it's a good one
so
again because also for me, like many people probably in the same boat. Like, what do we do with Bruno? Probably we wait until Friday, hoping that there will be news in the press conference. But if I need to sell him, then who to sell him for? And yeah, I was thinking Brighton indeed grows.
mm-hmm.
But if you look at the last 5 or 6 games, it was like 2 points each game, I think. So then, yeah, I'm like, okay, not the best form. And the other option could be Garnacho, indeed, but it's just two quite difficult games. Arsenal and Newcastle, and United really struggling, especially after the big 4-0 loss yesterday.
Mm-hmm.
Uh, Not really a team to bet on, so that's a difficult one.
Yeah,
Yeah, the same, of course, if you could say for Bruno, as he plays for the same team, but well, with Bruno, you never know. Maybe free kicks and penalties could always deliver some points. Yeah.
yeah. I
All right.
mean, yeah. So I think I see, their name for your team when I run the solver. But yeah, we can talk about it actually. So I will start with my team. So I ran the solver for both scenarios with if Bruno is still well, without changing Bruno's expected minutes right now, meaning that there's a kind of like an uncertainty, and then Solver wants to sell it more. Um, if you look at the top five like suggestions, well, obviously I need to sell Maguire. There's no question about it. Top
And
solutions.
in your case, you have two free transfers, right?
Yes, yeah. I
Okay.
forgot to mention. I have two free transfers. And then it sells Maguire and Fernandez for Tarkowski and Richarlison. The second best move is selling Maguire and Fernandez for Richarlison and Brandwaite. So
Okay. Yeah.
another defender.
From
If
Everton.
yeah, if we don't sell Bruno, and then the best move it suggests is selling only Maguire for Emerson Royal, and then the
Okay.
fourth best option is selling Maguire and Gordon for Richarlison and Livramento.
Ah.
Uh, and then the fifth option is selling Maguire for Van de Ven. So as you see, I mean, it's going around as similar players. I mean, same team, same position, but the second defender, both cases. So if Fernandez plays in Gameweek 37, then the top option becomes selling Maguire only for Emerson Royal. But since I have two free transfers, then if I really want to use my free transfer for a player, it sells Gordon for Richarlison, which doesn't make too much sense. I mean, selling a double link player for another one. But Richarlison's EV is high, I think. But
Yeah.
so having two free transfers in Game Week 38 is also an interesting idea. So
Oh,
yeah,
yes.
I don't really mind Bruno, you know, still being able to play in Game Week
Yeah.
37. Obviously, he's a good player.
No, I agree.
So
Yeah.
so if I do then the single move, it sells Maguire for Emerson Royal, whose EV is not the best, but it is still good, 4.5. And then in Game Week 38, then Solver sells Gordon for Saka, who plays against Everton that week, and Isaac for Joe Pedro, who's playing against Manchester United in the last game week of the season.
Okay.
So that's an interesting idea, but I'm also intrigued by the idea of having Salah or, more Liverpool
Yeah.
players in the last game week. So we will see.
Yeah.
But this is what the Solver gives right away.
Okay. Yeah. Interesting.
Um, yeah, and my EV for this week, if I sell Maguire for Emerson Royal, is 136. So I am close to an ideal bench boost then. If you look at my team, I have 2 players who are not doubling, Gabriel and Saliba. And I was planning to sell one of them this week so that I can have 14 doublers for my bench boost. But yeah, since Maguire is out, he's the priority, obviously. Yeah, that's where I am right now.
Good. Yeah, looks good.
So yeah, I'm hoping to win in our head-to-head competition this week and also the next week, and then
Yeah,
win
let's
the
see. It
season.
will be close. I mean, we're both bench boosting, and I think our teams are very similar, just a few differences. So, yeah, let's see what happens.
Yeah, and then I ran the solver for your team just to see
Okay, that's good.
where you can go from here.
Thank you.
And then yeah, my pleasure. It sells Maguire for Tarkovsky for your team.
All right.
And obviously benching Tarkovsky in the last game week, but this game week his EV is good enough, 4.2 against Sheffield United. Well, this is the plan with keeping Fernandez. Well, the main difference between my team and your team is obviously free transfers. I have 2, you have 1, so that the solver doesn't want to take a hit selling Fernandez with his default minutes.
Yeah.
And then in the last game week, it sells Fernandez for Saka. But if you are feeling that, okay, actually I can take a hit, or maybe like we learned that Fernandez is out, in that case, it sells Maguire and Fernandez for White and Garnacho. So obviously you're freeing some funds by selling Fernandez. So instead of Tarkovsky, then Solver says maybe White is a better option. Even though his EV is lower compared to Tarkovsky this week, like from 4.2 it drops to 3.5. But you have, like, you can play White in the last game week for 4.59 EV. And then the solver sells Gordon for Luis Diaz in the last game week. So you get a Liverpool player in the last game week of the season. So, and your EV with this team is 135. But yeah, I think, let me see. Yeah. After the hit, I think. Yeah.
Okay. Yeah, let's see what the news will be on Friday, or maybe already earlier in the week. Preferably, I keep Bruno. Avoid the hit. And I was just thinking about it. Like, what if Ten Hag says, well, he misses the first game, but he will probably be back for the Newcastle game? That will be a tough one. Do we still take a -4, or do we bet then on that Newcastle game?
So what would you do? Would you keep him?
Uh, Probably, I think. Probably, because I think the Arsenal game is anyway the tougher game. Newcastle is maybe a game where United could get something, even though that will be tough too. But yeah, you take a risk, right? Because you never can be sure that a player is back. So yeah, it will all depend on what we hear.
Yeah.
Hopefully, Ten Hag will be very clear, and it's either 100% in or 100% out. So that will help us to make a decision.
Sure.
Let's see. Okay, well, thank you for doing that
Sure.
for my team. Appreciate that. That helps. I guess the next chart is the captaincy options.
Yes, and Holland is the clear captain. And kids,
Okay.
don't forget captaining Holland. Make sure you have a Bas team set up, and then
Yes.
Holland is the captain. And also, don't forget to activate your bench boost, so I can
Right.
tell
I
you
already did
this.
it. Yes.
I also did it because I was scared that I'm gonna miss the deadline again.
Yeah.
And then Haaland is number 1 with 13.5 EV, and then we have Son in the second rank with 11.8. So there's a significant difference between the two. Then we have Palmer 11.0, Isaac 10.6, and De Bruyne 10.3. So I mean, Haaland is clear, and he's the top option in every model that we are looking. But in some models, I also see like Son is second choice in most of them, but I also see Palmer as the second best choice in Fantasy Football Scout, and Mikkel Tokman has Palmer ahead of Son, and Draftdown has Gordon as the second best option. and then Isaac. So I think they really rate Newcastle higher than other models out there. I mean, most people will be captaining Haaland, especially after 21 points. I don't think many will have courage to go against them. But
No.
yeah, if you want to take a risk, these are the options.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, yeah, as discussed last time, right? Maybe if you want to be different, to just basically you're taking a big bet, right? If it
Hmm.
pays off, Haaland doesn't score, and you pick, for example, Son, and Son does score, then of course, yeah, you can still make some rank improvements, which maybe some people that could be their objective if there, as there was only two game weeks left. But yeah, but you're taking a huge risk. I
Yes,
think Haaland
correct.
is the sensible option, especially also after last week. Yeah,
Exactly.
agree. I'll do the same. I'm probably vice captain Son. Yeah.
Hmm. Hmm.
Yeah. Okay. Cool. Think that covers almost all of the content. So probably we just need to look at the mini league.
Exactly.
And the mini league is interesting because we have a new joiner, and it's a special person. It's Jonas Sant Labak. You might not know his name, but he's the overall leader in the FPL game. So it's quite an honor that he's joining our mini league with his team Onkel Bla. He had a good game week score of 113 points. He's on 2,582 points in total. And I think what's really amazing is the gap to the number two, because that's 52 points. So he has quite a big lead in the game. And I think that means he's in a really good position to win the game. Would you agree, Sertal?
Yeah, I think so. Yeah,
Yeah.
very very big
Wow.
chance. Yeah, unless something terrible happens.
Yeah, I mean it's it's not over until it's over, so uh, don't count on it yet. But good luck, Jonas. We're rooting for you. I hope it will work. And then the number two is our former leader, Sandeep Yaswal. He's on 2,525 points, and that makes him the number four in the FPL ranking.
Hmm.
And number three is Ross M on 2,501 points, and he is number 17 in OR. And I think another thing we want to look at today is also the cup, as there are still two game weeks left, which means it's now semifinals time, also in our mini league. So we have four remaining teams. And those are teams that I think we haven't mentioned earlier in our podcast, as they never were in the top three. So it's nice that we can give them some credit here today in the episode today. And yeah, we have Duncan Gacheru, who beat Ashley Huben in the quarterfinal. And he will now face Chris B. And Chris B made it to the semifinal because he beat Nick C. So that's quite funny. Chris B beat Nick C.
Yeah,
Well done,
yeah.
Chris. And then the other semifinal is between Thomas Danes and Raish Ganpat. And Thomas won against Eric Westlund, and Raish won against Mohammed Alawaji. And I was just looking at that. Mohammed was quite unlucky, as he had a really good game week himself with a score of 108 points, but Raish did even better with 114 points. So yeah, four semi-finalists, and good luck to you. We'll see who makes it to the final. We'll definitely come back on it next week. And are you still competing in any cups, Sir Top?
Some of the smaller mini leagues, I think I am, but yeah, nothing.
Okay.
No big leagues or any serious ones,
Okay. Yeah.
unfortunately.
Yeah.
Like, well, especially after this week, probably. Like, even if I was competing
Oh,
before, I got eliminated probably. How about you?
yeah. Yeah, I'm still also in a few, indeed, not really big leagues, but there is one special one I want to mention. It's the RBBFC mini league. RBBFC, that stands for Royal Brussels British FC. And that's quite a cool amateur football club here in Brussels, I must say. I used to play for them. And it's actually thanks to some members of that club that I started playing FPL.
Oh,
And yeah, so
that's
I'm still in
special.
that mini league. It's quite a competitive mini league, many good managers in there, and I was up against Milos. who is, I think he even won the mini league. Was it last year or the year before, if I'm not mistaken? And it was a nice one because I was quite comfortably leading against him before yesterday's game, and he only had Olise left. So I was quite confident. I was like, okay, what could go wrong? But then, of course, Olise, he had a great game. He had a 16 pointer,
Mm-hmm.
and I went to bed thinking that I lost because it was 110 versus 107. But only this morning, then I realized that Milos had to take a -4. So his actual score
Oh.
was 106.
Oh,
So yeah,
wow.
I beat him with 1 point difference, 107 versus 106. So that was, yeah, quite a
That's
nice
amazing.
cup game. And yeah, well done to Milos. And
I'm
also a
sorry you
big
went to
shout out.
bed sad, Buzz.
Yeah, not too sad, I must say, because yeah, I had a good score, and yeah, it was just nice for him that he had Olise as a really good differential. But yeah, no, it was nice to realize that actually I won. Yeah.
Yeah, okay.
So yeah, and also still a big shout out to all the RBBFC members, as I think a few of them are listening to the podcast as well.
Hmm.
So I think we can close it here, right, Sertap?
Well, first we need to talk about your jersey, and then we can close the episode.
Okay, yes, as usual. So I think I worn the shirt before. It's
You
a
did.
Chelsea shirt back from the Ruud Gullit days, as I was a big Ruud Gullit fan myself. It's from 1997, 98, and in those days the teams were still keeping the same shirt for 2 seasons. So I'm actually not sure. It could be 97, 98, or it could also be 98, 99. Anyway, quite some time ago. And yeah, my Chelsea players have been doing quite well in recent weeks. Jackson, Cucurella, and of course Palmer. And I hope they will deliver again for double game week 37.
Yeah.
So yeah, this was it for today. This was FPL Optimized Podcast episode number 92. Thanks for listening. And with just 2 more game weeks left, it means that next week it will be our final regular podcast of the season. Time really goes fast.
It does.
We'll probably have a few other podcasts once the season has finished. More on that later. So make sure to subscribe to our podcast so you'll get notified when the next episode is out. And if you enjoy our content, you can make us happy by leaving a positive review, or if you're on YouTube, leave a like and subscribe to our channel. You can also follow us on X. For Sertalp, it's at Sertalp Bilal, and for me, it's at BelfiBB. And we also have a separate account for the pod, which is at FPL Optimized. And on top, as you know, you can also find us on YouTube.
And until next time, stay curious and stay analytical. Goodbye.
Goodbye.